um, recorded and posted on my YouTube channel. Okay, so we're simplifying fractions, basically. But our fractions are going to look a little bit different. Now, really quick, if I had 3 plus 2 divided by 3, could I cross out the 3's and call my answers 2? No. Okay, hold on. What did you just say? No. We're going to start with the recording again. The answer's no. And then, like, you all can get it right. I mean, think about this. 3 plus 2 is 5, right? Is 5/3 the same thing as 2? No, you can't do that. Okay, you can't do that. Just like you can't do this. You cannot cross those out and say the answer is 3. But can you do this? 2 times 3 over 3 and cross out the 3's and call the answer 2. What's the difference between here and here? Our whole goal for this is to break whatever's here into multiplication, into factors. We're going to break them up into groups, and then we're going to be canceling the groups together. Now, in order to create a polynomial into factors, guess what we're going to have to do? There's going to be a whole lot of factors going on for this whole unit. And next unit, a lot. So, I'm starting my factoring in secondary 2, and I don't know that they fully believe me when I said this is the most important thing that you have to learn this year. They're like, whatever, you're not smart enough to tell me that. Okay, so a rational expression is an expression that has fraction. We already answered that. Moving on. Okay. Couple things to know. You can never divide by 0, right? If I had 5 divided by 0, plug it in. How many times is 0 going to 5? It doesn't. Okay? Now, if I look at this right here, x can be anything, right? X can be 5, x can be 9, x can be 12. X can be anything because it's a variable. But there's one thing that x cannot be. What is it? This entire thing right here cannot be 0, which means in this case, x cannot be -2. Because what happens when x is -2? That means you have a 0 in the denominator and you can't divide by 0. So, when we have rational expressions, we're going to have values that can't, like seriously with the pencil. Okay, I'm just kidding. So an excluded value is a value that makes the denominator 0 in this case. That's not the full definition of an excluded value. Like square roots are going to have excluded values because square roots can't be what? Negative. In the real number system, square roots can't be negative. So a square root would have excluded values. But in this case, when we're dealing with rational expressions, that's all we have to worry about. Okay, to simplify a rational expression, 2 things. This is something weird. 1, you have to factor the numerator and factor the denominator. Okay. You started it. Anybody else while we're waiting for some sharpener and spot? Okay. Hey, 3 steps. First step. We have to factor the numerator and the denominator. Step 2, divide out the common factors. Now the entire factor has to be the same. For example, 1/2 factor. If you have an x plus 2, an x plus 1 over an x plus 2. This entire factor will cancel with this entire factor. And your answer would be left with x plus 1. Okay, so we divide out the common factors, we simplify and state any excluded values. So let's try part A. You could see these 2 different ways. You could see them having binomials like part A. You could see them having just monomials like part B. So looking at part A, on the top, it's already factored, right? Like x minus 1 is my only thing. Is that okay? On the bottom, we have to see if there's an x minus 1 there. Does anything factor out of the 5x minus 5? A 5. So we'll pull the 5 out. We're left with x minus 1. Now stop. I think actually, this should be step 1B. Because what's going to happen here, don't write this part down yet, is you're going to have something on top cancel with something on bottom, right? Now, if I were to simplify this, so you're all just watching, don't write yet. If I were to simplify that, my final answer would be 1/5. And looking at the 1/5, is there any x's? No, so just looking at this, there's no excluded values. But you have to list your excluded values based on the problem. Not necessarily on the final answer. So if I go at my problem right here, looking at my factored form, is there a number that x cannot be? 1. If x were 1, I would get 5 times 0, which would be 0, right? So my excluded value for this case, 1/5 is simplified, x cannot be 1. Two answers. Let's see excluded values. That's the first, and then 1/5 is the second. Just 1B. 1B. Okay, looking at part B, let's see excluded values first. Look at the bottom. Is there anything that A cannot be? If A was 0, because it's just A, right? It's like 7 times A times A times A. If A was 0, we would have a 0 in the denominator, and that can't work. So A cannot be 0. You guys are over here. And then pick up a blue packet over here. That's the first part. That's the list any excluded values. Now looking at the simplifying. They're already kind of factored, right? There's no like quadratic weird thing. Looking at the numbers, the 7 and the 21. Divide by 7, you get a 3. Okay? What about the A's? I've got 2 A's on top and 3 A's on bottom. What happens? They cancel. So I have 1 A left. Will the A be on top or on bottom? I try to amaze somebody every day. That won't happen again. Okay. They had like the perfect plus sign. Doesn't matter. Move on. Okay, part C. So the first step, if I can factor it, please do. So on the top, does it factor? Now all of these right now are kind of linear. This one doesn't really. 2n minus 3. On bottom though, does anything come out of the 6n minus 9? Right now we're just looking for GCF, right? So out of 3, what are we left with? 2n minus 3. Stop really quick. List your excluded values. What can n not be? Well, n can't be whatever is going to make the bottom 0, right? Because if the bottom was 0, then we would have all sorts of crazy. So if we add the 3, hold on. If you add the 3, and then what? Divide by 2. So if on the side it's UD2. Yeah, Brandon, at lunch, will you ask Siri why you can't divide by 0? Okay, hold on now. Now, is there a factor on top and a factor on bottom? Yeah, these whole factors will cancel. And what are we left with? Just the 3, but it's on bottom, so I'm going to say 1/3. Now, I have somebody without fail on every single test, and I have to be very careful on this. On every single test, we'll try to say, well, the x and the x, and the 3 and the 3. And they try to cancel things out individually. I told them once that every time you do that, a math teacher guys, and I said, but you gotta watch out because one day it could be me. Yeah, right? And then I was about to say that this one day. Luckily, the girl was absent. I had a girl in my class whose parents, it was a math teacher. Her mother was a math teacher, and she did pass away 2 years ago. So be really careful on that one. So I'll hopefully there's enough. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, you gotta be careful. And you're like, okay, I'm just a jerk teacher. Yeah, come talk to me. I know. Well, she won't watch it. She's not. It's not this year. It's a different year. So, unless anybody's gone through that too, come talk to me because I've been through it. I understand. Okay, moving on. Okay, part D, what do we do first? Yeah, you can't. Like, moving back to my whole story though, you can't just start canceling things unless they're in groups. They have to be in factors. Guaranteed somebody will try. Please don't. Don't do it. One day I'm just going to fall. Like, I'm going to look at something paper and just fall and see what happens. Okay, part D. What comes out of the top? Okay, what are we left with? X minus 3. On bottom, okay, so now we have to list our excluded values. We don't list the excluded. Now, do we care about the top? No. Are any excluded values coming from the top? No, only from the bottom. So here, X cannot be 3. Good. Now what? Now what? I got something on top with something on bottom. What's my final answer? Okay, so I'm going to answer whatever question is happening right here in the middle because I think. Are we good? Like. I'm up there the whole time. Yes. No. 0 over 0 is a calculus concept. So there's a t-shirt that I've seen float, because I obviously look at math things on Facebook or online, and so my computer knows that math things pop up every once in a while. And there's a t-shirt that says, like, it's all fun and games until somebody divides by 0, and then there's like a calculus, whatever way things happen. So when you divide by 0, that's really something that you'll learn when you yes. Can do it. Try it. Like, do it on the calculator. Does it wig out? Yeah. Which is why it's a calculator. Oh, it just freaks out. It doesn't do it. Yeah, no. Okay, looking at part E. Now things are going to change a little bit now that I have a quadratic, right? So on the top, what factors? Look for GCS first. So X minus 2. Is that okay? No excluded values are happening yet. Now what about the bottom? I forgot to warn you that there's going to be a whole lot. Okay, so a lot of factoring. So XX, it has to multiply to a -6 and add to a 1. 3 to -2. So now, hint, I got an X minus 2 on top, right? Yeah, probably you're going to have an X minus 2 on bottom. Like, there's going to be a lot of canceling here, so you should start to see those patterns. It is possible that nothing will cancel, but it's not likely. So, really quick, excluded values. X cannot be what? From here, -3. From here, +2. We care about here. So that's my first part. Now, do I have anything that are going to cancel? X minus 2, X minus 2. It always just baffles me too, because at no time do I give this and then cancel out the 3. You can't do it. You can't do it. It gives me like anxiety. Like, you can't do it. Not possible. Okay, what about part F? Can't do it. Part F. You can. What do you think? Looking at the top, is anything simplified? X minus 3 on top, okay? Look at the bottom though. The bottom looks really close to that, right? So if we were to rearrange that as -x plus 3, what's the difference between this and this? They're opposites, right? So could I factor a -1 out of there? And what would I be left with? X minus 3. Ooh, magic. Close. Hold on there. First, excluded values. What can X not be? X cannot be 3. Now, if I'm talking about canceling, I've got something on top that will cancel with something on bottom. What am I left with? A 1 on top? My final answer then would be what? -1. I think that's on math still. It may not be. So anytime, like on part G, where you have like a negative, Yeah. This would. Okay. This is like the difference in squares, right? Sorry, there's two ways to go about it. I'm just trying to decide like which road I want to take. The road less traveled. So, okay. Difference in squares. So could I? No, I want to rewrite it. Let's look at this. Sorry, I went back and forth like 4 times on how I wanted to do this problem. Is that okay? Switch the order. Now, anytime that x is negative, can I factor a negative out? So we're still working on the numerator. Factor a negative out. What are we left with? Is that okay? So now, is this something that we know how to factor? This is difference of squares, right? So that negative kind of hangs out up on top. I've got an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. Had I not done this, I could have factored it as 2 minus x and 2 plus x, which looks kind of confusing, so I decided to go this route. Looking at the bottom, is that okay to top? Are we okay with the top? Okay, looking at the bottom, what can we factor out? 7. What are we left with? X minus 2. Now pause for a minute. What excluded values do we have? X cannot be 2. Okay. From the bottom, x cannot be 2. We don't care about the top. And is there anything that will cancel? X minus 2, x minus 2. Our final answer then would be negative x plus 2 over 7. Now I've done a lot of these on the board. I want you to try each.
The only good day for school is Monday and Friday. You know, I wish we were going to Friday before we probably.
Would be nice to try to like stay or like something that you would there, and then you get it, you know. So then I would be able to come in. So we're going to take 10 more seconds on the traffic and then we're moving on because we're not in the original. There we go. Oh, 10's over. It's amazing, like, how much I enjoy you guys. Okay, now, 10 seconds over. We're recording. Yeah, remember? Like, there's no conspiracy. No corruption. You're not going on record saying there's any sort of corruption. Okay, part H. I never said that either. Okay, there's that for a straight line. What's on top? Y plus 4. Y minus 4. What about the bottom? Yeah, let's take out that negative 1. And then y minus 4. We kind of flipped it and took out a negative at the same time. Is that okay? Yes, no? Like out. We can go like this. That's like the middle step. Now, excluded values. Y cannot be what? Okay. And I cancel and I have to cancel. So how am I going to write my final answer? And then over negative 1, so we're just going to put it out instead. Yes. going to happen? So let's take that W plus 4, let's factor out a negative, and what are we left with? W minus 4. Basically, you just push those two, right? And bring out a negative. What about the bottom? Do you have to list the excluded value twice? No, because W can't be 4, and if I list it twice, W can't be 4. Okay, canceling, what's going to happen? Cancel out the top, cancel out the bottom. You can't cancel out both the bottoms, because it's like, if you had 2 fourths, can you cancel out both of the 2s? 2. No. So what are we left with? On top, -1 over on bottom. Okay, hold on. A little bit fun, right? I've been doing exponents all day. Those are not fun. This is a little bit fun. I like this. I wish I... Can you imagine if you were like in my class all day, every day? Fun? Okay, that wouldn't be fun for you, but it would be a lot of fun for me. Okay, this makes me very happy. Hold on. Actually, can we push through? Okay. You are choosing between 2 waste baskets. Okay, whatever, I'm not. We have 7 minutes. I love it. Like, push through, and then afterwards you have the whole time going.
I skipped step 1.
No.
I don't know when process.
Too bad. Okay. You're choosing between 2 waste baskets because it's a hard choice. One is cylindrical with a height of that and a radius of 8. So stop, let's draw a picture. I got a cylindrical waste basket. It's not too bad. Okay. The height of what? What's my height? And what's the radius? Okay, keep moving. The other one is a rectangular prism, because when you look at garbage cans, you think that's a rectangular prism. With a square base. Sorry, I find this a little bit amusing, even though I'm the one that wrote the problem. The base area is 4/8 squared. And the height is h. Okay? So those are the pictures. The picture just helps orient your brain on what's going on. Which is why step 1 is important, which is why if you didn't write step 1, you would miss points on your homework or test. Yeah. So, first, wait, hold on, what's the question? If both waste baskets have the same volume, what is the height of the rectangular waste basket? So our whole goal now is to figure out how tall that is. How do we do it? Step 1, draw the picture. We need to find the volume of this guy. We need to find the volume of that guy. And what will we do between them? What math symbol is this? We're going to set them equal to each other, right? So the first thing that you need to know is how you find the volume of something that's cylindrical. Okay, so let's do the waste basket first. Let's skip maybe these 2 steps. Here's how you find the volume of a prism. Now, a cylinder, is it sort of a prism? Technically, no, because it's round. But is it the same kind of shape except for with a round base? Yeah, you have that same kind of parallel thing going up. Kind of like cones and pyramids are similar, right? Cylinders and prisms are similar too. Here's how you find the volume of a prism. You take the area of the base. So with that, it's going to be 4/8 squared, right? And you times it by the height. So that's what volume is if you're talking about a prism. Now, what's the area of my prism? So this right here, volume of my prism is area of the base, which is what? 4/8 squared times the height, which is what? H. Is that okay? So that's the volume of my prism. Now let's find the volume of the cylinder, which means I need to find the area of the base. How do I find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So this volume is going to be pi r squared times what? The height. What's the height in this case? Is that okay? Yes, no? Look for the cylinder now. So we found the volume of the prism, which is the area of the base times the height. We find the volume of the cylinder, which is the area of the base times the height. Now how am I going to solve for H? What do we know about these two volumes? They are equal to each other, right? So pi r squared H equals area of the base times height. Now we just need to solve for H. How would I do that? We're trying to get this by itself, so what do I do? Our whole goal is to get H by itself because I want to know the height. Now the height isn't going to be like 7, right? It's not going to be 12. It's going to be an expression. Yes, Brandon? You're trying to get H. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, A would be a whole different ballgame. A little bit harder. Now, looking at this, do we have things that are going to cancel? Sorry, I'm kind of jumping everywhere. Let's come to this like empty space. Looking at the first thing that obviously cancels is the what? Not the 4 yet, just the A squared. Is that okay? Now what else do you notice on top? Our whole thing that we did on the previous page was we factored this. Can this factor? What comes out? A 2, the pi is already there, and what are we left with? A plus 8. Is that okay? A plus 4. What am I talking about? Okay. What's happening on bottom? A 4. Can anything else simplify? The 2 and the 4 becomes a 2. So what's my height of the whatever that is? H equals what? Pi times A plus 4 all over 2. I like the question. Obi. Ooh, good question. This A squared is connected by a multiply, not a plus. So I can. Yeah. If it was A squared plus, then no, I couldn't do that. Because that was a good question. Did you hear it? We canceled off the A squared, but I said you can't do that. The difference was this is a multiply right here, not an add. If it had been an add, you couldn't do what I did. Because it's a multiply, then done. Any other questions? Because I like to do math when I'm at Target picking out my cylindrical wastebasket. Thank you. Okay, number 4. A square has a side length of 6x plus 2. A rectangle with a width. Hey, draw a picture. Try it. One of these 3 questions will be on your next test. Different numbers, same problem. Did you? Oh, that's funny. Okay, Brandon. Okay, hold on. Are you drawing the pictures? Are you? Okay. Then I'll go squared. A square has a side length of 6x plus 2. Can I write it like this because I'm assuming something's going to happen eventually? Now, granted, I have no idea what I just did is going to make any sense later. But what did I do? I just factored it, right? So that I wouldn't have to later. Have a good lunch. Okay, that's the end of my recording. If you want to look at those last 2, then you're going to have to come ask somebody that was in class today. Have a nice day. Peace out. Oh, that was for you.